If you're looking for a vintage style guitar, this is right up your alley. There's no questions about it. Hey there guys, it's Joe with Sloppy Joe's Shred Shack, and today we are going to be talking about the Fender Vintera 1970 Stratocaster. Let's see what I think about this particular instrument. Well, anyways, guys, welcome back to the Shred Shack. Like I was saying before, my name is Joe, and it's very nice to have you. Now, if you haven't seen my face before, definitely click subscribe, smash that bell notification, and, hit like on the video. That'd make me feel real good. And I like feeling real good. Now, if you have seen my face before, welcome back to the Shred Shack, my friend. Now, in the studio today, we have a really fun guitar. This is a Fender Vintera 1970 Stratocaster. It's cool. Again, thank you to Bruce from Good Times Music for letting me steal the inventory off his shelves and making videos of it. It's very, very nice that you do that for us, Bruce. You're doing it for me and everybody on the internet, if I'm being quite frank. But anyways, let's just whip the specs out as I see them real quick here. All right, so we got a 25.5-inch scale guitar, so the standard Fender scale length. Not one, not two, but three single coil pickups. Who would have thought? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, definitely three single coil pickups. We have a vintage style bridge on here. You can see by the 6 little screw guys right there. We have the classic volume tone and a 5-way switch. You have the standard little input jack there. On the back side here, and this is kind of what sets it apart a little bit, it has a 3-bolt neck plate that you can see right there. 1, 2, 3, not 4, so very interesting in that regards. Has the tummy cut, and obviously, the little plate on the back here. Really, really nice ash body. I think swamp ash. I could be wrong, but I'm 99% sure it's swamp ash. Obviously, we have a maple neck with looks like a walnut stripe. I think it's probably walnut. And then it also has a lacquer finish on it, or I'm not quite sure what it is. Now, as you can see on the truss rod here, let's see if I can get it to zoom in on it. We have a little interesting thing on the nut. I forget what it's called. I call it a bullet. I'm not sure, but very, very cool looking, as you can tell right there. It kind of sticks out from the headstock, and it looks really, really awesome. And obviously, it has the giant CBS headstock, so that's cool. I'm a big fan of the CBS headstock myself, as you can tell by my other Stratocaster right behind me here. And then last but not least, it has vintage style frets. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch that on here, but they are very low profile frets. They definitely have a vintage feel. When you put your finger on there, you can feel the wood under your finger when you're doing a vibrato or just chording in general. And then I forgot to mention it has a 7.25-inch radius on the neck. So let's see if I can even show it here. We'll find out. But yeah, 7.25-inch radius on there. I forgot to mention also it has just, normal vintage tuners or vintage style tuners. They're kind of cool. Now, obviously, the 1970s were a really weird time for Fender. Leo Fender sold the Fender company to CBS, and CBS was like, oh, well, maybe we should just start screwing with an iconic guitar. So this is what happened. They've screwed with this. Now, to be clear, I want to be absolutely clear when I say this. People don't like the 1970 Strats. I think they're crazy. You know who used a 1970 Strat? Jimi frickin' Hendrix, dude. So, this thing is pretty great. Now, obviously, this isn't a tried and true 1970 Strat. This just has all the specs from it. But as I played it, this felt really, really good to play. Now for me, I like a flat radius on my neck. My Strandberg, which is my main guitar, 20-inch radius on it. So, that's flat. And then even my other Strat, it's the Roadhouse Deluxe. It's a 12-inch radius. Same thing with my Guild over here. another flatter neck. So, you know, the fretboard is very round for me. Now, if we're gonna be serious here, really, it doesn't matter too much. Call me nuts, but it doesn't. It's just more of a preference thing. If you want lower action, for the most part, it's just get a flatter radius, but you know, the action isn't too terrible on this thing. I was actually able to pull off some pretty cool licks with it. Now, is it higher action than what I'm used to? Yeah, but is it bad? No, God, no, this is pretty good action. If I were to compare this to like my first guitar, this is a night and day difference, right? So this is just a solid all-around good guitar. You know, the big thing with these pickups is that they're extremely low output. Not like extremely, but they're low output, you know, single coils. But the cool thing about that is that it gives it that vintage sound. Now, apparently in the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s Vintera series, each guitar gets their own set of pickups. And I haven't played the 50s or the 60s, but these definitely sound like pickups, but they have like more of a weird mid-range on them. I don't know what it is. Position 2 and position 4 are especially honky. And I like that because when I do like a pick scrape, that's usually my test to see if like a single coil pickup like meets my standards. And this one did. It had that pick scrape and it just sounded really good. And I'll play that in a few minutes on how I test a single coil pickup with the sound that I'm looking for in my ear, right? So, but these are really awesome. Position 2 and position 4 particularly shine on this guitar. But apparently these pickups are voiced specifically for this, like these specs, so they did a great job with that. I definitely liked that sound that I was able to get out of this thing. You know, and those, you know, there's a lot of good things. I could kind of go on all day about the good things in this guitar. Now, I'm gonna be honest. We're gonna talk about some negative stuff here. It's not the worst. I want to be clear about that. Like, this isn't the worst, but the fretwork from the Fender company, specifically the Mexican division of guitar making, I guess is how you'd say it. These fret ends are not good. Considering that you're paying $900 some odd for this guitar, I expect that fretwork to be like relatively decent. This isn't. You know, are the frets polished? Yes. Do they feel good? Yes. But you can feel the frets on the outside. Now, you're gonna see when I zoom up here that there's like glue missing from the 11th or maybe the 10th fret, like, and it just looks like shoddy craftsmanship. Same thing with the 20th fret here, or 21st fret and 20th fret, and maybe a little bit on the first. No, not really. But, and you'll be able to see it once I zoom in here. Let's see if I can hide my face. So, like, if you look at the 10th fret there, like, you can see how, like, there's glue missing. Maybe it doesn't show up on camera, but, like, there's, like, glue missing on the outside of the fret. Now, you can see, like, all along the side here. Let's see if I can get it to stay zoomed in on it. Come on. But you can see here on, like, these sides that the fretwork just looks like there's like glue, and it's kind of just shoddy looking. Maybe I'm just nitpicking here, but it just doesn't look good. I mean, it's especially prevalent on like the this high-end register here. You can see like there's gaps, like holes almost underneath the frets. You know, it doesn't affect playability. I will give it that, but you know, I don't know. It's just kind of shoddy work in my opinion. I don't know. It's not. I guess, you know, like, I guess when you buy a $900+ guitar, I expect that fretwork to be good, and this just flat out isn't good fretwork. Not that it's bad, but it's just not good. And that's the only gripe I have about this guitar. But, you know, if I'm being frank here, the guitar tone itself, obviously, sounds really, really great, and it plays really nice. You know, I'm not a vintage guitar player. My friend Duncan loves vintage gear and stuff like that. I have the hardest time with it. But, you know, like, this guitar played really well considering that vintage gear is not my particular forte. Okay, so I was talking before about the tone that I look for when I'm listening to single coils and if I like them or not, and it's usually on that pick scrape. And there's something like when you hit, I don't know what it is, and it's really hard to describe, but it's like just a feeling I get, like a very full round sound, but it still has a lot of like bright end, you know, especially particularly in position 4, which you'll hear right here. There's something about that I just love, and if it doesn't sound good in position 4, I don't like the pickups, and these ones sound great. And yeah, it just sounds awesome. So I'm just going to kind of flip through the pickups here real quick. I'm going to put a little bit of gain on, and you'll kind of hear like what it sounds like with an overdriven sound, and it sounds really, really good. And then obviously if you open it up with a little bit of gain, it sounds really old school. And you can hear, like, even with all this gain, you can still hear the single coil, which is pretty awesome. It sounds really, really fun. Now, if you're looking for more of the tones that I was getting out of this thing, definitely go back into my channel and go check out the demo playthrough of this video. I talk a lot less in that video, and I just whip through a bunch of different sounds and everything, and I have a lot of fun while I'm doing it. Now, who is this kind of guitar for? I'm gonna say that this guitar is definitely for someone who's looking for a vintage guitar, but doesn't want to pay vintage price. So like, and what I mean by that is like, how much does a 1950s, 60s, or 70s authentic Stratocaster that's still in playable condition cost? A lot of money. So this is going to be your next best bet. Honestly, I love it. It sounds vintage, it plays vintage, and it is just an all-around great guitar. Outside of the really goofy fretwork, this is a fantastic instrument. Other than that, like, I literally can't find a flaw in this thing. Like, it's beautiful, it sounds good, and I would recommend it to a friend. But like I was saying before, who is this for? This is going to be for someone who's looking for a vintage guitar or a vintage styled guitar and actually wants that authentic vintage feel. You know, big thing right off the bat that I do like about this guitar is that, like I was saying before, the little nut here, the little speed nubbin, I'm not sure what it is. You know, like, I just use this little small Allen wrench to turn that. Normally, I have to use something like this to adjust the truss rod on a Stratocaster. I don't have to do that with this guitar. This can just be adjusted with a normal Allen key, so that's awesome. Second thing that I would recommend I'm not sure if you can see this, but Bruce, by the way, I modified this guitar. You're gonna be happy. But I did end up putting a little screw in the trem cavity to make this stick. Now, I don't know if this comes with one of those little springs, not a screw, a spring. But, you know, I put that in there and it fixed all of the trem problems. You know, like obviously I like using the trem, but I don't like it just cranked all the way down or just totally floppy. This is a great little addition. So I'll have links to those little springs in the description box below if you're interested in that. Highly recommend that for this guitar. Really tightens up the trem arm and makes it less floppy. Very much a big fan of that. So, you know, if I were to give this guitar a score though, I would give it a very solid 8 and 8.3 out of 10. You know, like, is it my favorite guitar? No. Is it a great guitar? Yes. It's just not particularly for me. The sound is for me. The feel is for me. And what I mean by feel is like the fact that it's a Stratocaster, it's not too weighty. But like the playability, you know, it's not my style. But it doesn't mean that it won't fit somebody else. And I think if you're looking for a vintage style guitar, this is right up your alley. There's no questions about it. Well, anyways, if you like what you're seeing here, definitely click subscribe and smash that bell notification. Now, you can always hit me up on Facebook. Just pretend this is a keyboard, you turkey, and type it into your browser, you silly goose. Or hit me up on Instagram at sloppyjoes_shredshack. But anyways, I'm Joe. This is the Fender 1970s Vintera Stratocaster. It's pretty, it plays really fun, and it sounds really good. If you like vintage equipment, this might be up your alley. But anyways, guys, later.